The Girl Who Spoke to the Moon. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, surrounded by whispering woods and velvet fields, there lived a little girl named Alara. She was quiet too, so quiet that many people believed she had no voice at all. But she did speak, just not to people. Alara spoke to the moon. Each night, when the world slipped into slumber and the stars began to blink awake, Alara would climb the ladder to the roof of her family's cottage, wrap herself in a soft wool blanket, and whisper into the sky. "Hello, moon," she would say softly. "Did you see anything beautiful today?" The moon, who had wandered the skies since time began, had never been spoken to like that. Not in thousands of years. She had been admired, wished upon, charted by scholars, howled at by wolves, but no one had ever asked her about her day. So she answered. At first, just a flicker, a shimmer, a slightly brighter beam of light touching Alara's face like a kiss. But as the nights passed, the moon began to share her stories in full. "I saw a sea turtle hatch today," she murmured one night, her voice like wind across snow. "It took its first wobbly steps toward the ocean under my light. It was scared, but it was brave." Alara listened, wide-eyed. Another night, "I passed over a boy in the desert who painted me on the side of a clay house. He used only crushed berries and river sand. His hands were covered in color, but his smile, oh, it was bright." Alara began to ask more and more questions. "Do you get lonely? Do you ever sleep? Do the stars tell you secrets?" And the moon answered them all. She told Alara how she danced with comets in the cold reaches of space, how she used to be much closer to the earth, how she missed those early days when she could see the tiny footprints of children playing in meadows at midnight. She told Alara how she pulled at the oceans like a lullaby, how wolves still sang her name, and how owls sometimes flew so close she could hear their feathers rustle. Alara told the moon about her life too, how she didn't like loud voices or crowded places, how she felt invisible sometimes in the daytime. But at night, with the moon listening, she felt more seen than she ever had. One winter, the village faced a terrible storm. The wind howled like 100 wolves, and snow piled as high as the windows. Everyone stayed inside, afraid, but Alara climbed onto her roof anyway. She needed to know the moon was still there. "Are you cold?" she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. The moon pushed through the thick clouds and shone brighter than Alara had ever seen. Her light wrapped around the girl like a warm shawl. "No, little one," the moon said. "I burn with ancient fire. I am always warm, and I will always be here." That night, something changed. Alara felt her chest fill with something strong and ancient, something like starlight. The next morning, for the first time in her life, she spoke to the people of the village. Her voice was soft but steady, like the moon herself. She told them the storm would pass, that she knew it would. And it did. As the years passed, Alara grew older, and still she climbed to her rooftop every night. She became a storyteller, a dreamkeeper, a weaver of words under the stars. And every story she told began the same way. Once, the moon told me, when Alara was very old and her hair had turned silver, she climbed the roof one last time. She wrapped herself in her wool blanket and looked up at her oldest friend. "Will you still talk to me even after?" she whispered. The moon, bright and full, beamed gently down. "I always will," she promised. "In every tide, in every shadow, in every hush between heartbeats. I will be your voice when you can no longer speak." And so, when you look at the moon on a quiet night, you might hear her too, soft as a lullaby, telling the story of a girl who asked her questions and never stopped listening. Sleep well, dreamer. The moon is watching.